Morning, everyone. We're just going to give a few minutes for people to join online, and then we'll be starting the webinar. Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Welcome. My name is Tricia Williams, and I'm a Deputy Director at the United States Energy Association. We're pleased that you're able to join us for our webinar, The Road to a Just Energy Transition, a case study from Chile. This program is part of the Advancing Modern Power Through Utility Partnerships AMP-UP program, managed by the U.S. Energy Association and financed by the U.S. Agency for International Development. For those new to USEA, our goal is to convene, educate, and provide a nonpartisan forum for the energy industry. Internationally, USEA supports energy development by expanding access to safe, affordable, and sustainable energy in partnership with the U.S. government. For over 30 years, USEA has collaborated with USAID to provide capacity building assistance to our overseas partners, sharing global best practices on topics such as utility operations and management, integration of renewables, and regional trade and energy markets. The AMP-UP program is comprised of a consortium of 5 companies. AMP-UP capitalizes on the vast knowledge of the consortium members, as well as domestic and international energy sector experts, to offer an unparalleled network of utility and energy sector expertise to support the global energy transition towards net zero. This webinar is being led by USEA and is presented under the AMP-UP Technology Webinar Series. Their series will highlight current energy issues being discussed and implemented globally and will be led by each AMP-UP consortium member. We hope you will continue to join us for our other webinars. Again, thank you for attending. And I now have the pleasure of introducing Kristen Madler, the Clean Energy Coordinator at the Energy Division at USAID.
Thanks so much, Tricia. Welcome, everyone, and thank you again for joining us today. As the energy sector transitions away from a fossil fuel-based economy to a clean energy economy, there are many opportunities and also complex challenges that will have real, meaningful impacts on people's daily life. This transition has the potential to create substantial economic opportunities and benefit individuals and communities globally. It could create 30 million new jobs in clean tech, eliminate millions of premature deaths caused each year by air pollution, and provide energy access to the millions of people who live without reliable electricity. The energy transition could also bring high costs and inequities, often for the world's most vulnerable populations, if not planned for and managed effectively. Net zero strategies will impact the livelihoods of communities and millions of people working in carbon-intensive industries. Decision makers must weigh the need for a secure and reliable energy supply at an affordable cost, with minimal environmental and socioeconomic impacts, and make difficult trade-offs. So there must be an inclusive and participatory decision-making and development processes that ensure justice in the transition, developing demand-driven skills and labor matching, protecting and enhancing workers' rights, safeguarding community health, and human rights of affected individuals, including in Indigenous and local communities. Technical partnerships and community engagement are fundamental to support this transition. And through the AMP-UP program, we envision collaborating with stakeholders on workforce development, just transition sector job resilience, climate transition pathways for reaching net zero, and deep decarbonization initiatives. We plan to share lessons learned and models that our other transitioning communities across local and national levels have used, that peers can reference and build upon to meet their unique needs. As Tricia mentioned, today's webinar is brought to you by the AMP-UP program, which is a consortium of 5 organizations, including Arizona State University, MK Advisors, NRECA International, Segura Consulting, and the United States Energy Association. And the AMP-UP program is centered around peer-to-peer relationships and strong practitioner and stakeholder networks to support net zero goals. So we look forward to learning from Enel's experience in Chile. Within the framework of its just transition strategy, Enel's the first generator in the electricity sector to stop using coal in its generation operations. And as part of the implementation of the just energy transition strategy, the utility has incorporated technological, social, and environmental solutions and taken a human-centered approach to strategic planning and decision-making. So I would like to thank the U.S. Energy Association and the AMP-UP team for organizing this session and for each of our speakers for sharing their time and expertise here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm now pleased to introduce the moderator for this webinar, Marjorie Jean-Pierre, Senior Director at USEA.
Thank you. Welcome. As Tricia mentioned, my name is Marjorie Jean-Pierre. I'm a Senior Director at the United States Energy Association. Let me first thank Tricia for her welcome remarks and acquainting you a bit with both USEA and our AMP-UP program. I would like to thank also Krista Madler for insightful remarks on USAID's commitment to just energy transition. We are very excited today to welcome two presenters from Enel Chile, the largest electric utility company in Chile, who will give an overview on the road to a just energy transition, a case study from Chile. After the presentations, I will moderate a Q&A session with the presenters, and if time is available, we will also address questions from the audience. If you do have a question, please put them in the Q&A, and we hope to be able to address them at the end. The need for a fair and just transition was an important topic discussed at COP26, as well as a topic that straddles the world's climate goals while putting people and communities at the forefront of the discussion. As fossil fuel power plants are closing and being replaced by renewable energy sources, discussions must be had to address the social implications resulting from the displacement and reassignment of the current staff at the closing facilities. As mentioned earlier, as Enel is one of the first companies to stop using coal generation, so they are uniquely positioned to discuss the steps they undertook to implement a just energy transition strategy that ensures the shutdown of their coal facilities maximize value for the plant's employees, contractors, and the local communities. They will also discuss the regulatory structure that initiated the just transition movement in Chile. Again, thank you for joining us, and I now have the pleasure of introducing our wonderful presenters. Let's first start with Mrs. Natalie Correia. She is an engineer and a Fulbright alumni with an MAB from Texas A&M University. Currently serving as head of sustainable ecosystem at Enel Chile, she is leading several sustainability initiatives with a special focus on implementing a circular economy and its business models in the energy sector to empower sustainable progress. She is also co-founder of the Women Innovation Lab, an initiative where more than 200 women collaborate on closing the gap of gender equity in the sector. She also serves as director of Becaras for Impact, which seeks to promote the advancement of youth education in Chile. Joining her today also is Mr. Roberto Alhucema, who is a mechanical civil engineer with a Master of Science in Energy from Offenburg University of Applied Science and a Master in Innovation from Universidad Adolfo Ibáñez. He has more than 18 years of experience in the national and international energy sector, and has worked in the Enel Group since 2008, performing in various technical and management units in Chile and in Latin America. He was solar generation manager for Enel Green Power Chile and is currently the thermal generation manager for Enel Generation Chile, integrating new technologies under just energy transition strategy. Please join me in welcoming our presenters, and we'll begin with Natalia.
Muchas gracias. ¿Cómo están? Thank you so much, Tricia, Marjorie, Kristen, for inviting us to the USEA and the MAP program, for extending this invitation to us and giving us the opportunity to share Enel experience in this ongoing energy transition, include everyone. And thank you all for taking the time, with also listening and joining this conversation. I'm going to share the presentation, and you let me know if you see it correctly. Let's see this. Can you see it right?
Perfect, Natalia.
Muy bien. Muy bien. Muy bien. Thank you for joining us in this journey. Just briefly about the agenda of this presentation, focus on the road to a just energy transition in the case of Enel Chile. We will talk first about the Chilean regulatory context and commitment to the transition. We will present you the Enel Group and the contribution of Enel Chile to empower sustainable progress, which is our purpose as a company. We will explain the process and action we have undertaken for the transition while also capturing opportunities in the market. And we will close with the challenges we see to accelerate the process and its benefits. So to start, and I hope some of you knows a little bit about Chile. And if not, let me tell you. We said we live at the edge of the world. We are the longest and narrow country in the world. We have an impressive beauty and we're rich in natural resources and biodiversity. We have the driest and most sunny desert in the north. We have a long chain, which are the Andes Mountains, and we have the Patagonia in the south. And here in this slide, there are some data regarding our national parks and reserves. But we know the world is facing something that the World Economic Forum has named as in his last Global Risk Perception Survey as a polycrisis. No, they have indicated some of the main risks we will face within the next 2 years are the cost of living, natural disasters and extreme weather, geoeconomic confrontation, and failure to mitigate climate change as the tops. And within a gap of 10 years, there will be mainly the failure to mitigate and to adapt to climate change. Will increase in natural disasters and biodiversity loss. And in the case of Chile, this is even more critical. As I show you, we have all these amazing natural resources and we depend on them, right? And the country has been identified with high vulnerability, meeting 7 of the 9 criteria of vulnerability to climate change. We actually have had a drought for more than 10 years so far. So therefore, our country has a great commitment with climate action. And we have developed, well, first, in 2015, we were part of the Paris Agreement, and we have commitment and established national determined contribution. We set goals in mitigation and adaptation to climate change, and we were among the first countries in the world to update this commitment in the year 2020 and set even higher goals. And last year, the government approved our first climate change framework law, this one, and we're setting the goal to become carbon neutral and climate resilient by 2050 at the latest. And this is an instrument that only a few countries in the world have that include a gender equity perspective. And it was right away complemented with a long-term climate strategy that set the ambition to have an energy metrics 100% zero emission by 2050. And this include action plans for the most relevant sectors and at a different levels, at a regional, national, local levels. And as you can imagine, the energy sector has a lot to tell in this, and that's why its players are being very challenged to make accelerated changes to comply with this new policy that is very important. So in this slide, you can see the national balance of greenhouse gas emission per sector between 1990 and 2020. And the energy sector account and represent 51% of this balance of emissions and removal between the capacity of absorption that the land and forest has is still a very important representation. And in the year 2017, you see this black line to rise. This is the green gas emission balance. And it was because we were affected by important forest fires. And last year, we were also affected with this, the rise of temperature and increasing of fires. And we probably will see this line to grow again. And these numbers mainly compound by emission of burning fossil fuels, mainly from electricity generation, transportation, mining, and residential use. And I may say, let me see if I have the data here. 70% of emissions in Chile come from fossil fuels, but we use a lot of wood still in our processes, and we're very dependable of that energy, even more in the south of the country. Over the years, we also have been very dependable on fossil fuels. We import fossil fuels, coal, gas, and coal, gas, and oil. So our energy matrix generation is still around 40% compound by thermal generation. So the energy has have built a long-term policy. We call it the National Energy Policy to 2050 to really focus on a long-term vision. And we established several different strategies, one for decarbonization, electric mobility, development of hydrogen, some of the latest one. And we set a very ambitious goal for the sector. First, to mention some of them, the retirement of 31% of coal generation by 2024 and complete phase out by the year 2020. We're looking to reach carbon neutrality of the country by 2050. And we're expected by 2035 only to be allowed to sell electric cars. And by 2030, we're looking to produce a very competitive hydrogen and become one of the main exporters of this fuel in the world. This is an ongoing conversation. There's a lot going on in that matter in Chile. And we're seeing this goal may be met earlier than expected, given the opportunities that are arising in the market with the need for a green transition. But having all these strategies in the sector require also a commitment, of course, with sustainability and to leave no one behind. Thus, the country has started to build a just energy transition several years ago. And I may say to rise even higher the ambition. And let me read it for you what the Ministry of Environment described as what it is this just energy transition. And they say, the just socio-ecological transition is defined as the process of collective and participatory empowerment from a model vulnerable to climate and ecological crisis, focused mainly on extractive economic activities and with an unequal distribution of wealth and environmental burdens, toward a resilient society that is strengthened and develop innovative and sustainable productive sector and move towards a new economy which generates wealth distribution, decent work, maximize the well-being of the population, and reestablish the ecological balance of the territory. For more sustainable transition, and we are talking about here about a transformation toward a resilient society and taking care of wealth distribution and people well-being. And what was the process to build this just energy transition? I tell you before that we were among the first countries to update the NDC to the global agenda. And in that time, we established that we will build this just energy transition. We were looking to have a very highly participatory and collaborative process that aiming to include all the stakeholders and we did it with intersectoral workshop to a public consultation. And it was also defined on a governance. They had an executive level and a strategic level, as you can see in the slide. And the main ministers involved was the Ministries of Environment, Labor, and Economy. And they wanted to make sure the participation of different industry stakeholders as generation companies, port workers, and also labor unions, to name a few. In the first version of the strategy that was published in 2021, it was focused on the phase out of coal, and is looking to have positive impacts in these three areas that you can see in employment and improve the competitiveness of the sector and the mitigation of the emission. I saw the numbers. the coal phase out is expected to lose around between 5,000 and 6,000 jobs, but it's looking to create new employment also from renewables. So 43,000 new jobs of clean energy and 13,000 new jobs in direct and indirect activities of the decommissioning process. They're looking also to phase out 28 units of coal generation and reaching 100% of the retirement by the year 2040, and to reduce 40 million of CO2 between 2020 and the year 2040. So I would say within this challenging context that we're facing multiple risks, and also where the country is taking very seriously the climate action and just transition, we're very proud at Enel because we have done over the years a positive contribution. We're really taking action to contribute to this with an open dialogue and really putting in place an infrastructure to help in the process. So to tell you a little bit about Enel, Enel Chile is part of the Enel Group. We are a global leader in the energy sector, and we are first in network operation, considering the numbers of users. We are the larger private players in renewable capacity, and we are the larger in decarbonization, and we're setting the target of becoming carbon neutral by the year 2040. We accelerate that 10 years, this goal. So in this slide, I present you a little bit about our corporate strategy. We have put at the center and our heart of our decision-making the sustainability. Sustainability for us is equal to value. And to do it, we have a strong commitment to contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals, in particular to the Sustainable Development Goal 7 of affordable and clean energy, 9 of industry, innovation and infrastructure, and 11 of sustainable cities and communities. Actually, more than 90% of our investment plan is contributing directly to these SDGs through the increase of renewables, digitalization of the network to reach higher efficiency in distribution systems, and help to build sustainable cities and communities. Through our new business lines, we have NLX and NLX Way, which are bringing to our customers all the new technology, including solar distributed system, storage, charging infrastructures for electric cars, for the public and private sector. So as you can see, our generation, our distribution, and our NLX business are living a really exciting journey today. And we hope this to be the decade of electrification, growth of renewables. And we would like to extend that clean energy to all of our customers through this new technology. So as you can see, all these efforts are being focused to contribute to climate action. We have a strong commitment with that. We believe that is the path we have to follow. And we truly want to contribute not only to the climate action, but really to be a driver for sustainable development in the country, and of course, be part of this important just energy transition that is ongoing. So I stop here in my presentation, and I invite Roberto Alucema, my dear colleague, to continue. He will comment in particular how we're implementing the different actions through our generation business and the challenges and opportunities we're facing in the transition.
Thank you, Natalia. Hello, everyone. Do you hear me well? Okay, I start by thanking the invitation. Thank you all that are connected for being here, present in this such an important topic. I would like to start by stressing a statement that Natalia used during her presentation, that it was Enel's full commitment to total decarbonization. And by making a correction. I mean, we are not aiming to go zero emission in 2015. We aim to reach zero emissions in 2014, 10 years earlier than the net zero goal. So to do this, we set renewable energies as the cornerstone to accomplishing decarbonization. Energy transition from fossil fuels to renewable sources like solar, wind, hydro, geo, goes by hand, let's say, with through the fight of climate change. However, this just shift to renewables is more complex than simple, I would say. To abandon fossil fuels all at once, it may result in a premature interruption of vital services, for instance. So it requires a responsible management that guarantees grid stability, resiliency, efficiency to ensure this clean, affordable energy. All of this being made with an integrated sustainable strategy approach. It wouldn't be fair to say that sustainability is only right now that we are facing this transition within our business. It has been for a long time now. So we have already much of the road advanced before we started with this sustainability approach. Going back to the slides, I will show you two topics this morning. One, the growth of renewable energy matrix in Chile, and the second one, the phase-out process of coal generation. Here I like to stress what Natalia did is I will do it because we are really, really proud of it. We are the first Chilean generator to complete the coal phase-out process in Chile, okay? So let's continue, Natalia. In this slide, in this slide, I would like to show you the renewable development targets up to 2025 in Enel Chile. Enel Chile energy generation portfolio involves hydro, solar, wind, geo, thermal, and BESS, with an installed capacity of 6.5 gigawatts. So as you can see, it's a very clean, flexible, and balanced matrix. To the left, you can see the graph showing an increase of the power by 1.9 gigawatts with a selective additional capacity coming from solar mainly, wind storage investments. In the middle, our target for 2025 is to be able to have 25% of our power installed generation renewable with a very clean and balanced matrix, again, as I just said. To the right, our final goal, which is have 100 renewable in our matrix by 2040. In the next slide, I will try to show you what we are actually developing as projects. We are, okay, to understand the dimension of what we are doing, here are different projects representing renewables installed capacity through all the Chilean geography in order to build a robust and resilient and flexible portfolio. Yes, the projects under development will add a total capacity of 2,500 megawatts approximately, achieving a total capacity of 5 gigawatts of energy generation matrix at the end, consolidating our leadership position in renewables at the end of the 2022. On the map, you can see in red and blue dots, identifying different projects. At the bottom, you can see the stage of development of the different projects that we are looking. And to the right, far to the right, you can see one of the pilot projects on hydrogen production that we are actually working with different partners. It is the first hydrogen pilot generation of hydrogen production pilot here in Chile. Yes, but as you can imagine, this doesn't come alone. There come challenges and complexities along the way. They are always arising. And we can continue to the next slide, probably, Natalia. And I have to say that we have to face different challenges and manage different challenges. For a start, the increasing complex scenario of our hydrology, which is, as you can imagine, impacts in a strong manner what we have planned in our transition, having much less hydropower generated than expected. Second, the curtailment due to the grid technical factors and demand factors, which have a strong impact on the generation expected from renewables on power plants in operation, and even more impact in the new projects in the stage of testing. Transmission expansion, the name it talks by itself, it hasn't been fast enough to accompany the planned development that we had in mind. I would say this would be a truth for every actor in the market in Chile. The lack of a clear and complete regulation that allowed us to talk and walk about a defined path to go further in our initiatives. But there are also opportunities arising from this current context. The integration of the other technologies, of technologies like storage, like, for instance, the analysis of hydrogen generation that I was just telling you about with the pilot, besides other 15 scouting projects that we are looking around the world, are opportunities that also do come along. These have also helped us to understand the importance of having natural gas generation and to define it as our main transition technology in order to actually maintain a stabilized system. This challenge that is actually, I am actually leading right now, and I'm honored to do so. And at last but not least, the integration of digital technologies, changing the ways of doing things towards our clients, towards our assets and energy structure, the energy structure and of transmission that we're trying to actually build. Let's continue. Okay, here, well, here's a slide to remark probably the most important accomplishment, which Natalia just mentioned. We'll mention it again because it's quite important for us. It has been a lot of work behind this, which is the phase out of Enel coal power plants from the Enel matrix. Yes, going from the phase out of Tarapacá in December 2019 to Bocamina in 2022, with the consequent carbon reductions that pushes forward to our zero emission goal by 2040. Being the first Chilean generator to complete this really make us proud. Of course, this is not the end. We will continue by implementing and probably giving a new purpose to the sites that we are leaving. And this transition, this just transition, let's say, it wasn't easy to accomplish. It's required a strategy and management. We can go further. On management that it actually promotes what we sustain as a sustainable human rights approach for all stakeholders. Yes, which was defined as an action plan with 3 different streams. The first stream was with the people of Enel Chile by offering internal deployment opportunities to 100% of the employees. I repeat, 100% of the employees, together with an upskilling and reskilling training. And we are also offered a voluntary early improvement retirement plan, which will complement the redeployment opportunity. We consider that we were really, really successful on this plan with our own personnel, by having 64% of the people redeployed, and 34 of them taking the voluntary retirement. The other stream goes to communities, yes, fostering green jobs with technical expertise training. We have trained 380 people, and from those 380 people trained on these skills, 38 of them were hired by Enel Chile. And suppliers and contractors, well, they are not just important stakeholders for us; they are the most important linkers, yes, in the value chain. That's why help them towards their efforts to zero decarbonization, which is also our goal, is one of our main goals too. So how we do this? We do it by giving them also upskilling and reskilling and opening new tender processes with them within our new activities. Yes, the upskilling and reskilling, of course, have to do with what we are doing aside the thermal generation within renewable energies. Finally, I have to say that the core of success for our people centricity sustainability strategy was to have a long-standing relationship with all stakeholders, to have a close and transparent communication with them and the community within the territory. That, as I said before, is not a work done by the phase out of the Bocamina 1, 2, and Tarapacá. We have been doing this for years. So we had a vision before and we sustain it now. I would like to end my presentation or my intervention with some final remarks that I will actually read directly. Oh, okay, no, we have
one more slide, Roberto. The next step, where are we now?
Okay, so let me put this because, okay, so next steps. I would love to talk to you more about the next steps, what we are facing. I was telling you before that we have a new life project and repurposing in mind. We are looking for different opportunities within the places that we are phasing out coal and where we will phase out eventually gas, although, as I said before, it is now our transition principle technological background. So yes, we are studying different projects from implementing storage technologies to new renewable technologies to new uses of the land. At the moment, that's what I can tell you. Once we have it clear and we do not have it as a component of our strategy, I will be glad to tell you what are we doing or what we'll be doing. And okay, the message that I wanted to give with the final remarks is the takeaways that my intervention and Natalia's intervention also were aiming, is that I will read this. I will put my glasses down. Enel is leading the fight against climate change through our commitment to total decarbonization. Yes, this is, I have to say, a truth, a complete truth in Chile and also globally. Renewable energies as the cornerstone of our accomplishment to just energy transition is what we are doing. The growth is accompanied by all of our people centricity, sustainable, just strategy. Enel is the first Chilean company to complete the coal phase out. Again, we remark that one. Placing people, the environment, and the commitment to a sustainable energy supply at the center of the just transition also. In order to achieve these objectives, it's necessary to have the commitment of all the stakeholders and accelerate changes in regulatory framework. Faster expansion and transmission lines is necessary in order to efficiently use the green energy and the increase of electrification. I will put an end to my intervention with this slide, Natalia, so we are open to the Q&A. Thank you very much for the attention.
And I leave you with this last slide. So maybe you're get interested and visit us someday in Chile.
Well, thank you so much, Natalia and Roberto, for a very informative and detailed presentation. I was encouraged to see Enel's commitment to a sustainable and human rights approach to just energy transition. As I'm going to moderate a few questions, I'm going to take liberty of asking a few, but I see we've got some wonderful ones in the Q&A session that we also want to get to. You alluded to this a little bit in your presentation, but I was curious to know how important has been the current regulatory framework in advancing a just energy transition. What do you think is missing?
Can you repeat that, Marjorie?
Yes.
I missed you.
I was wondering how important has the current regulatory framework been in advancing a just energy transition? And then what opinion is missing? And this could be either to you or Roberto.
Yeah, and on my part, I show you all the different, the framework we have, the clear commitment to climate action, and all the different strategy has been developed to the energy metrics in general for Chile, you know, the strategies for energy efficiency, decarbonization, electromobility, and now with the hydrogen, also in education. I mean, it's been very, very important because it has created an ecosystem that is willing to make changes with all the stakeholders involved. And what would I say, if you ask me personally, what is missing? I would say that I would like to see more in relation to really create a more powerful local industry that be able to change the way we do our economic, because we're still in a linear economic that we extract resources, that we process them, that create waste. So what I would like to see in this transition is to put more attention on building a circular economy, which is something that we are seeing with so much potential to create new jobs and new businesses and establish business models that create value for all. But Chile is making progress on that. And I think we're going to see a lot more in the future.
Yeah, I would say circular economy is one of the main topics that we have to address, taking into account that the waste that we will have after the years, yes, by the implementation of all renewables has to be well addressed. Otherwise, we'll be in another problem years from now. That's something that we are working. We are working with government instances, and we are talking not only at local level, but also at global level in Enel. The other thing that I would mention, Natalia, would be the regulatory production of energy that we do have as a system here in generation system here in Chile, which it clearly doesn't actually promote necessarily the generation of renewables until we have a complete change. Now, at the moment, it's difficult for little companies or companies not as big as Enel to actually invest in renewables within the country, because they are not sure if they are going to be able to sell their energy at the end of their
in their operation. Yeah,
no, during operation and during their investment period analysis. Yes, that's something that we should also address. We also should address well, that's not regulatory, it's more technical. I will probably address it in another question if it comes. Thank you.
Thank you both. As we mentioned earlier, Enel Chile was one of the first to stop using coal-generated coal generation. So I was curious to know is what impacts did the shift from coal have on downstream and upstream supply chains? And was there any delays and opportunities realized on the phase out process? Kind of a twofold question. You could take either one.
Which one was the second one? Sorry.
Was there a delay on the phase out process and therefore the opportunities realized?
Yeah, we had a delay. Roberto, if you
Yeah, we had a delay. We had a approximately 4-month delay to the phase out of Focamina 2. It's important to say that it wasn't really a delay that we decided to have. The administration, the country asked us to continue the operation because of the problems that I mentioned before. You remember the slide where I told you about the challenges? Okay, we had a lack of hydrology. We have a delay in the renewables that should be constructed at the moment, not only Enels, but all Chile. Excuse me. ¿Escuchan
No, you're
todavía?
fine. I just stopped presenting,
Okay.
so we can see it better.
So the coordinator asked us to continue our coal production until this was better addressed. We continued and we closed our last power plant, yes, in 2022, and we are now facing probably really demanding energy distribution by the renewables that we are actually trying to connect to the system. So we are pushing really hard in order to forward the results and to have them generating as soon as possible. So as I told you before, fossil fuels phase out and renewables must go hand by hand. Yes, we have to find an equilibrium, and that's what just transition and responsible management is. So if we take out megawatts from conventional thermal generation, we should be able to be generating and to assure energy to our society by renewables. And the other question was the downstream chain impacts and
Yes.
upstream, yes. So the downstream impact, I would say, is the renewable energy infrastructure. The adoption of renewable energies actually increased the necessary infrastructure, and as a result of that, we have an increase in demand of construction materials, equipment, services, and it stimulates the growth downstream, the supply chain. Also, for instance, the new storage solutions that I've talked about during my presentation that present themselves as opportunities, something new that encourage the same thing. Yes, we need to have supply for batteries and services in this stream. So this is also a huge impact that we are trying to face, because we're not always having the best knowledge regarding these technologies in the country. So we have to learn fast. And energy transmission distribution, I said it also as a challenge. It's not going fast enough, but it's going. And of course, the supply chain there also is being impacted by installing transmission distribution equipment, such as, I don't know, transformer cables and substations.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm not going to monopolize the questions because we have a lot in the Q&A, so thank you so much for that. So I'm going to try to get to as many of them as I can. There seems to be a lot of interest in what Anel has done regarding this. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't talk about upstreams.
Yes.
Do you want me to?
No,
because I already touched it, yes, with materials and components.
Yes.
Bye.
Okay, wonderful. So addressing some of the questions in the Q&A, I'm going to try to take them in order, if at all possible. But as I was mentioning, there seems to be a lot of interest in what Anel has done to assist the staff that has been displaced and retraining at the facilities that have closed. But let's start first. What I think hopefully will be an easier one is, the question is, how do you plan to make the hydrogen?
Okay. As I said before, we are scouting different projects. Mainly, we are planning to go to probably the exportation and use of other fuels with the production of hydrogen. Yes, that's what the pilot that we are doing in the south of Chile. But we do not stop thinking about hydrogen production as a fuel itself. Taking under consideration the industry here in Chile, we have mining industry, which is the main industry that we have, that could be really pushed towards decarbonization and zero emissions, which is something that they are looking for also by the use of hydrogen.
Thank you. This is
Where can
several.
I leave a link, Tricia? Can you help me? So because I have a link where everybody can read about the hydrogen. Let me see. Are you seeing that one?
Yes, I do
Yes.
see it. Thank you.
You can share it with everyone, and there's a video there where you can see how the hydrogen is being produced. We are doing this pilot in the south. It's a group of companies that are joining this project, and Enel in particular is developing a wind power plant to provide with this green energy. So we're really able to produce a green hydrogen. But it's very challenging because you already see how large the country is, and we have to start developing different, we do research and develop innovation to be able to really to extend this opportunity to the industry, and the industry be able to use it. So there is a lot going on that, but it's starting.
So if more technically, the integration of different renewables in energy generation like wind, as Natalia was saying, yes, for hydrogen production using PEM technology, this hydrogen or green hydrogen produced deliver e-methanol or e-fuels that we afterwards pretend to use in like e-fuels and to export probably to another markets.
Wonderful.
It's something that we are just really starting.
This has several questions in it, so I'm going to not ask all of them, but there is definitely an interest in the retraining. So the question was, what were the specific new upscale jobs, and did they require relocation? The second part of that, were the skills training provided by Enel or by a third party?
Okay, again, I would say the redeployment was to be redeployed in the new projects along the country. So answering the question, if some of them require relocation, yes. And they were, of course, evaluated and then accepted. They had, of course, we gave another alternative there, good alternative. But I think the purpose is bigger here, and we have been able as Enel to actually address our people, the people working, me included, that the purpose that we are following is much greater. So they didn't actually question that much the necessity of moving. Of course, for some of them was impossible, and we try to cover that with the exit plans. Yes, we did give them a skill by mainly in solar projects, 4 of them, Domeico, Campos del Sol, El Manzano, which are some of our largest solar power plants, mainly in two things: electrical installations and smart meters, yes, substations and electrical skills, and also by with a less technical knowledge, which would be the PV and tracker maintenance, so that it could be a sustainable job. So not only during construction, but also during the services of maintenance of our power plants. I don't know if that answered the question. There were two questions, yes, which were the skills and the relocation.
Yes, I think that answered the question. Thank you very much to both of you. Another question, how much of the people-centric activities was supported by funds from the Enel Group, and what was the contribution of revenue from Enel Chile alone towards these efforts?
I don't know, Natalia.
I don't know the
Okay.
contribution in particular of the revenue, but I must say all the funding come from Enel Group. It was part of the commissioning process of the power plant and the commitment we have with our employees and the community. And as Roberto mentioned, we reached all this accomplishment that he mentioned because we have a long relationship with all the people and in the community, in the location where the power plants are. So it's something that we didn't do from one day to another. We have been preparing for this for several years, building the renewables for the energy metrics, but as well with the people.
I have to say that also the funds for all this redeployment is something that we have looked over the investment analysis that we do. I mean, we invest in our own projects. We do have different stages of investment. Yes, we go to screening committees, investment committees, where we are not looking only financial return. Yes, we are looking also for one of our main strategies, which is sustainability. So now it does have a really strong component and incidence in the final decision, and that comes off also, of course, with finance capex associated for those purposes.
We have time for two final questions. This is a very interesting one, and I'd be interested in hearing the response to this as well. It says, does Enel have a program for sharing experiences across different locations in different stages of coal phase out, so that those just starting the process can learn from experiences of other communities who have worked on repurposing and job transformation?
I
I don't know one specific program, but we do a lot of international collaboration because Enel is in 30 countries. So we do a lot of open dialogue, presenting the work we're doing. Enel is facing a complete process, a very large process, also phase out in Europe. So we're learning from each other on how we're doing it. We don't have, that I know, an open program to everybody can see, but we're sharing knowledge.
I don't really know who asked, but who asked is having a short or mid-term vision. I would say short, because we were just talking, I don't know, 2 days ago with colleagues from Rome and Spain, that we should be sharing all this knowledge in between the 30 countries of Enel, and we should be doing it also with our competence. Yes, at the end, our main goal is to have a decarbonized electricity structure, and for that we have to reach not only Enel people and commodities, but and assets, but also the rest. Yes, so it's a really fine question. I will take it to work with me and to see if I can put something promoting that.
Wonderful. A few more. What is the expected impact on residential electricity prices by 2030?
I do not have the prices. I could give you a value that I do have in my mind regarding the increase of demand. In Chile by 2030 will be 28%. So that goes hand by hand with the challenge that we do have with, of having all renewables and transmission infrastructure by then. And I would say that yes, the main focus, as I said before, our strategy, not only sustainability, but also by electrification, is to have the more efficient energy towards our clients, and that goes also with the diminishing of price. I do not have the number now.
Good, thank you. We unfortunately are running out of time. We have 15 questions in the Q&A. There just isn't enough time to address all of them. So what we will try to do, if Natalia and Roberto are okay, is that if we send you the questions and you guys could give a response and we could post it on our website, along with a recording of the webinar that might be able to answer some of the questions that we were not able to address at the webinar today. You're okay with that? But I would like to end the webinar with one final question to both of you, and that is, why do we need a just energy transition for a low carbon future?
Nice question.
Wow. That's a good question. If you allow me to answer more personally, I will say that over the history, we have lived many transitions in the energy sector and within humanity. But today we are a society that has so much access to knowledge, to technology, to, to be connected as we are today. So we need to set an example. We can do the things better and use all this advancement in favor of the well-being of society and protecting natural resources, and to really create a sustainable development. So I would say we have to challenge ourselves to do it right with all the capacity and ability we have built over the history. But this is, I don't know, a personal view. Roberto,
like
what do you think?
Great personal view. I will
Absolutely.
probably take everything what you say and probably put it in different points. Yeah, social equity, economic opportunities. We were just talking about that. Environmental sustainability. I mean, what can be more fair and just than leaving zero carbon emissions and a clean world to our future generations? Health and well-being of us. I mean, as persons, I love to use the word. I mean, afterwards, all of what we do is for us and for our kids. I do have 4 kids, so I do hope I leave a better world for them. And also resilience and energy security for countries. We all know what happened in Europe, yes, with the dependency of gas. Having the use of resources, natural resources, and the efficient use of them as a secure autonomy energy minister is something that I would say we all countries aspire. And besides that, I would say I will resume my vision on it, and that's why we are so eager to get to this zero emissions, which is kind of different than net zero. Yes, we are not trying to get even. We're trying to actually go zero emissions. So it's I would say these 5 points will resume it.
Thank you so much for your response. And again, thank you so much for your participation in this webinar. Fantastic presentation. And once again, we are so encouraged and excited to see what Enel Chile is doing in this just energy transition sphere. So on behalf of USEA and as well as behalf of USAID, I thank you both for participating in our webinar. I also want to thank our participants. Thank you for some incredible questions in the Q&A. Unfortunately, we we're able to address all of them. but we'll try to see if we can follow up and try to address as many as we can. Thank you again for participating, and we hope to see you at our future technology webinar series. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Take care. Thank you very much.
Gracias a todos.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you so much.